Hey guys, it's Eddie and today I am back with another book review for you all. Now my book review today is linked to my previous and last movie review with the recent release of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I thought I would finally get round to reading the original Jurassic Park novel by Michael Crichton. So that is the book that we'll be reviewing today. Now if you have not seen or read Jurassic Park, the basic premise is there is a man named John Hammond and his Gentech company have harnessed the DNA of dinosaurs and they have been able to replicate these animals and incorporate them into a theme park that they are building. And John Hammond has invited a couple of individuals to sort of test run the park and sort of see it in its earlier stages before it is released to the public. And obviously it's not that simple, it's not as hunky-dory as that, so stuff goes awry, as you'll probably know even if you haven't seen the film. You get an inkling that that is not going to be a straightforward project. So that is the basic premise. Obviously I watched the film as a child, so I couldn't help but make comparisons to the film when I was reading the book. And obviously you can only do so much with the film, so naturally the park and its history that Crichton envisioned comes much more to life in the book. It's got a wealth of detail that obviously isn't as delved into in Spielberg's film. And it's even down to the code in the park programming by Nedry, one of the characters, and it's pasted right on the page in front of you, which I thought was just amazing detail. Obviously I'm not that familiar with, you know, the ins and outs of computer code, but it was definitely illuminating and it definitely made the story seem more real. It was clear obviously that Crichton had thought a great deal about this and this subject matter, and he made sure that every piece of information he could include was included in the novel. So I thought that was a great way to immerse people even further because the level of detail was just immense. So obviously I had an overactive dinosaur obsession as a child, as I mentioned in my Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom video, and so I spent a great deal of the book waiting for scenes that I had seen in the film, and sometimes that came to fruition, sometimes it didn't. But I found that these expectations were supplanted with even greater moments, to be honest. They were even more heart-pounding and even more exhilarating and cool. I found a lot more dinosaurs in the book that were focused on a little more than those in the film. Obviously, you know, there's a great gravitation in the film towards the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the raptors because they are the most, I think, visually stimulating, especially where action and danger is concerned. And obviously that is the same in the novel, but there are scenes with the pterodactyls, and you know there are more scenes with the Tyrannosaurus Rex and, you know, the Stegosaurus and hadrosaurs, which is like different. I think there's a wider focus obviously in the book. It's a lot more detailed, but I thought that some of the scenes in the book, although they weren't what I was expecting from my knowledge of the film, they were sometimes even better. I thought that the beginning of the book was a little bit stunted. It was tantalising, but the events were kind of very bitty because this book switches narratives very frequently, and on occasion, especially in the beginning, this was a little bit tiresome. There was like really bitty events of conversations interlaced with really lengthy passages on the history of Gentech, Hammond's company, and these were complex but necessary, but sometimes it was a kind of a thing that you just had to wade through in order to get to the part that you really wanted to get to, which was when they were at the park. But obviously you needed that history to know what was going on, and I can appreciate that. But when you get to the park in this book, I think that is the point where you literally cannot put the book down. I was finding myself saying, oh, I'll stop here, and then 5 minutes later I took up the book again and started reading. And I think obviously that is the telltale sign of a great book and when you're enjoying it. With regards to characters, there is the paleontologist Alan Grant and his assistant Ellie, and there is the mathematician and chaos theorist Ian Malcolm, and then we've got the sort of villainesque character of John Hammond as just the main guy, as well as his grandchildren Tim and Lex. And those are the main characters that we encounter at the park. Now, I got a sense that characters varied in dimensionality. I got very strong impressions from Ian Malcolm, and I got impressions from Hammond because obviously he was the antagonist in this novel, which is obviously very different to the film. There is a sort of softer lens around Hammond in the film, so this was quite a drastic change. But some characters like Ellie, I found while they were good, they were just a little bit left to the side and a little bit flat. But I enjoyed overall the character dialogue and the interactions between characters, particularly the interactions between Grant, Tim and Lex, and also Malcolm with basically everyone. I thought that his monologues were fantastic and very interesting to read, and I just felt like his character was just so full and fun and interesting, and that's probably why he's my favourite. Probably why he's a lot of people's favourite. The characters may be slightly one-dimensional at times, but I think that's because the action was so jam-packed, especially in the second part of the novel when they're on the island and everything's just a go. The world that Crichton has created is so very real. There's so much detail and thought given, and it makes it really rich, and it makes for a page-turning plot. As I said, the second half is kind of a form of episodic chaos, and it's great. There is a lot to follow. Sometimes I find myself getting a little bit muddled just because the narrative switches so frequently and the action is so fast-paced. There's a lot going on, so sometimes I'm like, where exactly am I? So you'll end with Grant, Tim and Lex, and then you'll go back to Malcolm and Ellie and Regis and the other characters, and you'll be like, wait, what exactly were they doing? I can't really remember. It can be a little dizzying at times, especially when you're reading quickly, because this action is just so page gripping and page turning. But it's certainly thrilling, and that is just one small point that I have to make about the book, and just its style. I think that style, while it can be a little bit much, it definitely adds to the novel, and it suits the novel because of its subject matter. You know, it's not going to be just a slow idyllic daydream when you've got dinosaurs running about and eating people. It's, you know, it's very fast paced, and I can understand that. What I do love about this book is it doesn't hold back on its vividness, which I can appreciate. The attack scenes were more gruesome and more blunt than I initially thought they would be, because obviously, you know, I was watching Jurassic Park as a kid, and the scenes in that, although there is, you know, violent moments, they're not really violent, they're just, you know, snap, raw snap. So I was surprised at the level of gore in this book, and the picture painted by Crichton was very vivid and very powerful, and you couldn't really get away from what he was putting before you. It was right there, right in your face, and I loved it. I loved his style. I loved how blunt it was, but it was also very imaginative and still able to paint that rich picture that you wanted for a novel like this, where everything is visual apart from like the history of Gentech, which is based more at the beginning. I have to say, loving this film and this franchise from childhood, it was amazing to go back and actually read the source material. I'm really glad I did. The book surprised me. It's definitely quite a drastic change from the film. There's a lot left out of the film, and as I said, there's only so much you can do, but the book is a really rich treat for fans of the franchise, and I'm really glad that I've actually read it now. I don't, apart from my comments about the pacing and the narrative switching, I don't really have any issues with this book. I think it's fantastic. I think if this is something that you're into, you should give it a read. Overall, it's just a really fun page-turning novel, and I think anyone should give it a go, because it's just a great page turner. It's quite a hefty book, but you'll finish it in no time. I did. So yeah, give it a try, even if maybe you're not that familiar with the Jurassic Park franchise. If you're a sci-fi fan, it's definitely a staple in that area, and so is Crichton as an author. So I have no complaints. This book was great to read. So thanks so much for watching this review. That is it. That's all I have to say on Crichton's Jurassic Park. If you have any other books or movies for me to review, please don't hesitate to comment below. Give this video a like if you want to. And thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.